It all started as an innocent joke during a company meeting. It was Friday night and everyone was relaxed, enjoying the opportunity to have fun outside of work. The music was playing softly in the background while colleagues chatted animatedly and shared laughs. I, Mariana, was near the bar, having a drink when my boss, Gustavo, approached me. Gustavo was a charming man with an aura of confidence that always caught my attention. He smiled a smile that seemed innocent, but had a touch of mischief. We started talking about different topics, from the company's projects to our sports preferences. At one point, the conversation turned to soccer, a passion we both shared. Gustavo, always competitive, suggested making a bet on who would win the weekend soccer game. He was a fan of the rival team to mine, and the healthy rivalry made me even more excited about the idea. Confident in my team, I accepted immediately. The fun and relaxed atmosphere made it seem like the bet was just another joke between colleagues. "What do you want to bet?" I asked, half thinking he would suggest something silly like paying for lunch on Monday. Gustavo, with a mischievous twinkle in his eye, replied, "Whoever loses will have to do something of the winner's choice." At that moment, I didn't realise how ambiguous and even dangerous this could be. The drink and the light party atmosphere made me lower my guard, and I accepted without a second thought. The night continued peacefully, with more conversation and laughter. I was sure my team would win, so I didn't even worry about what Gustavo might ask. It was just a joke, something to make the weekend more interesting. On Sunday, I watched the game with enthusiasm, but soon I saw that my team was starting to lose ground. Anxiety started to grow inside me, and in the end, my team lost. I felt butterflies in my stomach remembering the bet, but still, a part of me thought Gustavo would not ask for anything more than a funny or embarrassing task. On Monday, when I arrived at work, Gustavo was waiting for me with a kind and intriguing smile. He reminded me of the bet, and I, still trying to keep the mood cheerful, asked him what he wanted me to do. It was then when he, with a serious look, but still with that touch of mischief, said, "I want you to go to dinner with me without telling your husband, Lucas." That took me by surprise. It was not what I expected, and suddenly the harmless joke seemed to have taken a much more serious turn. At that moment, I felt a mixture of emotions, surprise, discomfort, and a strange excitement. The idea of doing something hidden, something that would break the rules, was both frightening and intriguing. Gustavo looked at me, waiting for my answer, and I knew that rejecting the bet was not an option. The embarrassment of coming back and the pressure of the moment made me nod, trying to hide the nervousness I felt. I didn't know that this decision would be the beginning of a series of events that would change my life in a way I never imagined. The night of the dinner, I was a nervous wreck. I spent the whole day trying to concentrate on work, but my mind was completely full of anxiety and anticipation of what was to come. When I got home, I went straight to the shower, trying to relax and get ready for the night. I chose an elegant navy blue dress that highlighted my curves in a subtle way without being too provocative. It was important to keep things as professional as possible, at least at first. While I was applying my makeup, my thoughts were racing. What did Gustavo want with this dinner? Why had he chosen me for this bet? My hands were shaking slightly while I was applying mascara, and I had to take several deep breaths to calm my racing heart. When I finished, I took one last look in the mirror and, satisfied with what I saw, grabbed my purse and left. I arrived at the restaurant, and Gustavo was already there, sitting in a more private corner. He stood up when he saw me and came to greet me with a welcoming smile. His presence had an aura of confidence that was both comforting and intriguing. During dinner, Gustavo was the perfect gentleman. He brought me closer to the chair, gave me subtle compliments, and made me laugh with his funny stories. Every minute that passed, I felt more at ease, and the initial tension started to dissipate. Our conversation flowed naturally, starting with work-related topics and gradually evolving to more personal ones. We talked about our dreams, fears, and even our families. At some point, I realized that I was enjoying the attention Gustavo was giving me. He had a way of making me feel special, as if I was the only person in the world at that moment. His eyes sparkled with genuine interest, and his words were always carefully chosen to please me and make me feel good. The mood gradually warmed up. Gustavo began to give more personal compliments, commenting on how my smile lit up the room and how captivating my presence was. I knew this was beyond the professional limit, but I couldn't help the feeling of pleasure his words gave me. It was as if he was seeing me in a way that no one else was, and it was intoxicating. In the middle of a shared laugh, our gazes met in a way that made my heart skip a beat. There was an intensity there, a silent connection that said more than any words could express. My body reacted instantly, feeling a mixture of nervousness and excitement. With each passing moment, it became clearer that this dinner was becoming much more personal and intimate than I had anticipated. The night continued with more laughter, more conversations, and a growing closeness. When it was time for dessert, Gustavo suggested sharing a bowl of ice cream with chocolate syrup. The simple gesture of sharing dessert became a symbol of our connection, a moment of sharing innocent and loaded with meaning. Dinner was over, but the story was far from over. Gustavo had awakened something in me that I could no longer ignore. I left the restaurant with something much more complicated and intense. After dinner, Gustavo suggested we go to a quiet bar, a place he knew where we could continue the conversation in a more relaxed atmosphere. I accepted, still feeling the warmth of our connection during dinner. The small bar was charming, with soft lights and ambient music that created an intimate atmosphere. We chose a table in a more private corner where we could talk without interruptions. As soon as we sat down, Gustavo ordered 2 glasses of wine. I was a little nervous, but the wine helped me relax. As we talked, he started to be more daring, complimenting my beauty and intelligence in a way that made me feel embarrassed, but also flattered. I felt my cheeks blush with each compliment, and my heart beat faster. After a few drinks, the atmosphere in the bar became even more intimate. The soft music and dim lights created an almost magical ambiance. Gustavo kept looking at me with that sparkle in his eyes, and every time he spoke, his words seemed to envelop me in a cloak of seduction. The wine had loosened my defences, and I felt more relaxed, more open to his advances. The conversation had become more personal, and he began to make comments that went beyond the simple, "You are beautiful." He talked about how fascinating I was, how he was attracted to my intelligence and sense of humour. I could feel my heart beat faster with each compliment, my face heating with the mixture of embarrassment and pleasure. At one point, Gustavo moved his face a few inches from mine, his voice low and soft when he said, "Mariana, I can't stop thinking about you." These words took me by surprise, and before I could respond, he placed his hand on mine. The touch was light but full of intent, and a shiver ran through my body. After a few more drinks, I found myself giving in to Gustavo's advances. The emotion of the moment, the undeniable chemistry between us, and the slight intoxication from the alcohol made it impossible to resist. When we got to his car, my heart was beating fast. Gustavo opened the door for me, and as soon as I got in, he approached me, closing the door behind him. In the cramped space of the car, the closeness between us was electrifying. Gustavo turned to me, and before I could say anything, he started kissing me. His lips were hot and urgent against mine, and I felt a shiver of pleasure run through my body. My heart was beating so fast I could hear it in my ears, and for the first time in my life, I felt a shiver of pleasure run through my body. Gustavo's kiss was intense and passionate, and I responded with equal fervour. His hands explored my face and neck, each touch sending waves of heat throughout my body. I knew this could have serious consequences. I was playing with fire, but I couldn't resist. There was something about him, something in the way he made me feel that was simply irresistible. We became intensely involved there in the car. The kisses became more urgent, and the touches more daring. Despite the passion of the moment, there was a line I was not willing to cross. I kept my limits, knowing I couldn't let things go beyond a certain point. Gustavo seemed to understand this, respecting my signals without pushing the boundaries. The intensity of the moment was enough to leave a deep mark. When we finally separated, both panting, the air between us was thick with unsatisfied desire. Gustavo looked into my eyes, and I could see a look of satisfaction and frustration. "Mariana, you are incredible," he said, his voice hoarse with emotion. "I want more moments like this with you." I knew it wouldn't end there. I had crossed a line and there was no turning back. As I drove home, my mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. I felt a great guilt, but at the same time an excitement that I could not ignore. What had started as an innocent bet had turned into something much more complex and dangerous, and I was about to find out where this story would lead me. As I drove through the silent streets, I tried to process everything that had happened. The guilt consumed me inside, but at the same time, the thrill of that forbidden experience never left my head. I felt trapped in a moral dilemma where every choice seemed wrong somehow. When I finally arrived home, I saw that the lights were still off. Lucas, my husband, had not yet arrived. That gave me some relief because I didn't know if I could face him at that moment. I walked into the house and went straight to the bathroom. I looked at my reflection in the mirror, trying to find some sign of change, something that would give away what had happened. But to the outside world, I looked the same. I took a quick shower, as if the water could wash away the guilt I felt. I put on my pajamas and lay down on the bed, but it wasn't easy to fall asleep. I stayed staring at the ceiling, replaying the events of the night in my mind, feeling my heart clench with every memory of Gustavo's kiss. When I finally heard Lucas come in, I closed my eyes and pretended to be asleep. I was not prepared to face his questions or his presence. In the following days, Gustavo behaved normally at work, as if nothing had happened. But there was something different in his eyes every time our gazes met. There was a glimmer of complicity, a silent understanding of what we had shared. These gazes constantly reminded me of the line I had crossed and kept me in a state of constant alertness and anxiety. At work, I tried to maintain a facade of professionalism, but inside, guilt and emotion mixed together, creating a weight that was hard to bear. Every time I saw Lucas, my heart sank with the secret I kept. He looked at me with such love and trust. I felt like an imposter. I tried to act normal, but I knew I was failing. There was an invisible wall between us, built by my own actions. The guilt was overwhelming. At night, while Lucas slept next to me, I lay awake, lost in my thoughts. I tried to banish the memory of Gustavo's caresses, but his kisses kept coming back, increasing my confusion. However, the emotion was also there. Every time Gustavo looked at me with that look of complicity, I felt a shiver of anticipation. I knew he still wanted more, and that moved me in a way I could not explain. The adrenaline of the forbidden was intoxicating, and despite the guilt, a part of me longed for more of that feeling. Living with this secret became a constant battle. At work, the interactions with Gustavo were an emotional roller coaster. Every accidental touch, every whispered word, all carried enormous weight. Every time I returned home, I felt the pressure mounting. Lucas didn't deserve this, and I knew I needed to make a decision, but I was trapped in a cycle of desire and regret. The dangerous line I had crossed no longer seemed like a mere momentary transgression. It was a path that would change my life forever. Each day, the choice between desire and morality became clearer, but for now, I was caught in a whirlwind of emotions, trying to find a way out of the mess I had created in my life. Gustavo's presence was a constant reminder of the path I had taken, and the more I saw him, the more I realized how deeply I had become entangled in this dangerous game. The thrill of our secret encounters was addictive, but the guilt was an ever-present shadow. The more I tried to act normal around Lucas, the more I felt the weight of my deceit. I knew that sooner or later I would have to face the consequences of my actions, but I wasn't ready yet. I was walking a tightrope, and every step brought me closer to the edge. Gustavo's charm and the excitement of our secret kept pulling me back, but the reality of my situation was always there, looming over me. It was only a matter of time before everything came crashing down. The more I tried to balance my double life, the more difficult it became. Gustavo's advances continued, and I found myself drawn to him despite my better judgment. The excitement of our secret meetings was a powerful lure, but the guilt and fear of being discovered were always there, a constant reminder of the danger I was in. I knew I couldn't keep this up forever, but I didn't know how to stop. The line between desire and morality had blurred, and I was caught in the middle, struggling to find a way out. Every day was a battle, and I was losing ground. The more I tried to distance myself from Gustavo, the more he seemed to pull me back in. His charm and confidence were irresistible, and I found myself falling deeper into the web of our secret. The thrill of the forbidden was intoxicating, but the guilt and fear of being discovered were always there, a constant reminder of the danger I was in. I knew I couldn't keep this up forever, but I didn't know how to stop. The line between desire and morality had blurred, and I was caught in the middle, struggling to find a way out. Every day was a battle, and I was losing ground. The more I tried to distance myself from Gustavo, the more he seemed to pull me back in. His charm and confidence were irresistible, and I found myself falling deeper into the web of our secret. The thrill of the forbidden was intoxicating, but the guilt and fear of being discovered were always there, a constant reminder of the danger I was in. I knew I couldn't keep this up forever, but I didn't know how to stop. The line between desire and morality had blurred, and I was caught in the middle, struggling to find a way out. Every day was a battle, and I was losing ground. The more I tried to distance myself from Gustavo, the more he seemed to pull me back in. His charm and confidence were irresistible, and I found myself falling deeper into the web of our secret. The thrill of the forbidden was intoxicating, but the guilt and fear of being discovered were always there, a constant reminder of the danger I was in. I knew I couldn't keep this up forever, but I didn't know how to stop. The line between desire and morality had blurred, and I was caught in the middle, struggling to find a way out. Every day was a battle, and I was losing ground. The more I tried to distance myself from Gustavo, the more he seemed to pull me back in. His charm and confidence were irresistible, and I found myself falling deeper into the web of our secret. The thrill of the forbidden was intoxicating, but the guilt and fear of being discovered were always there, a constant reminder of the danger I was in. I knew I couldn't keep this up forever, but I didn't know how to stop. The line between desire and morality had blurred, and I was caught in the middle, struggling to find a way out. Every day was a battle, and I was losing ground. The more I tried to distance myself from Gustavo, the more he seemed to pull me back in. His charm and confidence were irresistible, and I found myself falling deeper into the web of our secret. The thrill of the forbidden was intoxicating, but the guilt and fear of being discovered were always there, a constant reminder of the danger I was in. I knew I couldn't keep this up forever, but I didn't know how to stop. The line between desire and morality had blurred, and I was caught in the middle, struggling to find a way out. Every day was a battle, and I was losing ground. The more I tried to distance myself from Gustavo, the more he seemed to pull me back in. His charm and confidence were irresistible, and I found myself falling deeper into the web of our secret. The thrill of the forbidden was intoxicating, but the guilt and fear of being discovered were always there, a constant reminder of the danger I was in. I knew I couldn't keep this up forever, but I didn't know how to stop. The line between desire and morality had blurred, and I was caught in the middle, struggling to find a way out. Every day was a battle, and I was losing ground. The more I tried to distance myself from Gustavo, the more he seemed to pull me back in. His charm and confidence were irresistible, and I found myself falling deeper into the web of our secret. The thrill of the forbidden was intoxicating, but the guilt and fear of being discovered were always there, a constant reminder of the danger I was in. I knew I couldn't keep this up forever, but I didn't know how to stop. The line between desire and morality had blurred, and I was caught in the middle, struggling to find a way out. Every day was a battle, and I was losing ground. The more I tried to distance myself from Gustavo, the more he seemed to pull me back in. His charm and confidence were irresistible, and I found myself falling deeper into the web of our secret. The thrill of the forbidden was intoxicating, but the guilt and fear of being discovered were always there, a constant reminder of the danger I was in. I knew I couldn't keep this up forever, but I didn't know how to stop. The line between desire and morality had blurred, and I was caught in the middle, struggling to find a way out. Every day was a battle, and I was losing ground. The more I tried to distance myself from Gustavo, the more he seemed to pull me back in. His charm and confidence were irresistible, and I found myself falling deeper into the web of our secret. The thrill of the forbidden was intoxicating, but the guilt and fear of being discovered were always there, a constant reminder of the danger I was in. I knew I couldn't keep this up forever, but I didn't know how to stop. The line between desire and morality had blurred, and I was caught in the middle, struggling to find a way out. Every day was a battle, and I was losing ground. The more I tried to distance myself from Gustavo, the more he seemed to pull me back in. His charm and confidence were irresistible, and I found myself falling deeper into the web of our secret. Finally, one evening, as I was preparing dinner, Lucas approached me with a concerned look. "Mariana," he said gently, "is there something you're not telling me? You've been distant lately, and I feel like there's something wrong." My heart pounded in my chest, and I knew I couldn't keep the secret any longer. The guilt had eaten away at me for too long. Taking a deep breath, I decided to come clean. "Lucas, there's something I need to tell you," I began, my voice trembling. "I made a mistake. It started as a harmless bet with my boss, Gustavo, but it went too far. We had dinner and things got complicated. I'm so sorry, Lucas." The look of hurt and betrayal in Lucas's eyes was unbearable. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, his voice breaking. "I thought we were honest with each other." "I was scared," I admitted. "Scared of losing you, scared of the consequences. But keeping this secret has only made things worse. I know I've hurt you, and I'm so sorry." Lucas took a moment to process what I had said. The silence was heavy, and I could feel the weight of my actions pressing down on me. Finally he spoke. "Mariana, I love you, but trust is the foundation of our relationship. You've broken that trust, and it's going to take time to rebuild it." Tears streamed down my face as I nodded. "I understand, Lucas. I'll do whatever it takes to make things right. I just hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me." Over the next few weeks, Lucas and I worked hard to repair our relationship. It wasn't easy, and there were many difficult conversations and painful moments. I cut all ties with Gustavo, determined to focus on my marriage and rebuild the trust I had broken. Lucas and I attended counselling sessions to help us navigate the challenges we faced, and slowly but surely, we began to heal. The experience taught me a valuable lesson about honesty, trust, and the consequences of my actions. I realised that the thrill of the forbidden wasn't worth the pain it caused, and I vowed never to let something like this happen again. Lucas and I emerged from this ordeal stronger and more committed to each other than ever before. We learned to communicate better and prioritise our relationship, understanding that true love requires effort, honesty, and unwavering trust.